Okay, so now we move on to Taurus. Taurus is a sign that has a relation to your will and power, but it's on the weak side. It's not really that developed yet. So yeah, it also has a keyword of I have, and it rules the throat and the speech of a person. So a lot of Taurus in their life would probably have a problem with their throat, with their mouth, or, you know, either they can be really, really noisy or they are having a hard time with their communication. They would feel suppressed, not able to speak their mind into things, or trying to be very careful with the things that they say. They can be like that when they are a Taurus. Also, Taurus can be very inert, so it's hard for them to adjust to change. They are a fixed sign, so it's hard for them to adjust to change, and especially if someone did not give them time to adjust, because Taurus always needs time to adjust things. They are the type of people that cannot make a decision impulsively. They need to always think about it, make sure of things, and that is the reason why when you have a full moon, if it's in the sign of Taurus, you know that the effect is going to be long lasting and it could last a lifetime. It has that really long effect when it comes to Taurus. One of the really downside about Taurus that they do cling too much about certain things, and they would need to learn how to detach to someone, to a possession that they have, because they do tend to have some form of jealousy, greediness inside of them, and they there are times that they don't notice that, or they probably won't admit that because they think that I'm very loving, so why does this person treating me this way? But sometimes, like it's just like when you hold something too tightly, you crush them. It has that kind of factor. So sometimes you just need to let something go. So there's just an that is just an issue with Taurus. They can be quite rough in their own way. It's also the sign of money, and that is the reason why you can link it to the second house, having to do with what sustains you. It has a lot to do with the body, has a lot to do with what do you call this? Um, Physical possessions, material possessions that you have, and that's why we would notice that a lot of Taurus have strong values, and that is why it's not easy to make them move, especially if they do not believe in what you're saying. If you don't have enough proof for them to, you know, to work on something. And even though you do have evidence that this is what you should do, they're still not gonna take action and move. It's just more of a Taurus. They're like a rock, they're quite inert. It's not easy for them to change things. Even though that in their mind, I know I have to do this. It's just that I don't know why I can't seem to do it right. They can be quite rigid in their own way, but they are very, very central sign because their ruler is Venus. Now, that is all good, but having a lot of Taurus is not that easy as well because it can be laziness, not doing something because you don't like changing. You are you like the comfort of life to the point wherein any form of hard work is so hard for you. So that is one thing about Taurus that um, is quite not on the good side. And how you should deal with Taurus needs to be done in a very indirect way. I'm not sure if I mentioned that already, but yeah. Um, Also, one of the things with Taurus is that they can be easily flustered and upset with surprising factors. But, you know, the thing with Taurus is that whenever you disappoint them, they just keep things inside of them. And that is the reason why a lot of Taurus tends to be quite depressed because they tend to hide things. They like to keep things. Again, with the keyword of I have, they absorb things, they keep things, and then suddenly when everything is just full, they don't know how to handle the energy, don't know how to handle the emotions, they don't know how they can keep everything inside of them already. It's just going to burst out. And um, it shocks them, and it will shock the people around them more as well. So yeah, one thing I really noticed about Taurus is that people who have a lot of Taurus are it's just really hard for them to initiate things, to work on things, unless it's for work. Unless it's for work, it's something that has to be done in a very responsible level, that sort of thing. Unless that, unless the fact that if someone can do it, they would just want the other person to do it. But if they don't have any choice, then that is the only time that they're going to take action, even though they don't want to. So that's just the thing. And the thing is that whenever they start something, whenever things are finally moving when it comes to Taurus, it's going to be long term, long term. So whenever I think about Taurus, it's always about long term. It's just that, it's either a long term of silence or a long term of communication, movement, and progress. So yeah, it's just like you can imagine a tree. It's not so easy to grow a tree. It takes time, but once it's fully um when it once it has fully developed, it's really going to be wonderful because it will always bear fruit. So yeah, that's really what I know about Taurus.